Hey guys, Kevin Henry with Ignite DA, practicing my social distancing, but still getting out of the house a little bit. Hope that you all are as well. Just want to let you know about all the great things that we have coming up with Care Credit, Dr. Bicuspid, so many good people coming on board with us from the KOL side, from the key opinion leader side, from the thought leader side to talk about what's going on right now in our industry and how you need to be prepared for what's to come whenever dentistry kicks back in full steam. I'm so excited about what we're doing with Care Credit, Dr. Bicuspid, Ignite DA, Ignite DDS, all working together to provide you some great information. So hey, stay healthy, stay away from each other, but more than anything else, stay tuned because we've got so many good things coming to you, and we want to make sure that you're a part of the information that we're going to share from some of the best minds out there in dentistry. Hey, together we rise. Look forward to seeing you online. Dr. Bicuspid, Ignite DA, Ignite DDS, Care Credit, all coming together. Facebook Live, so much happening. Can't wait to see you.
I'm so glad you made it here. I want to talk to you about Fast Track and what you're going to go home with. So it used to be word of mouth was king, and that was a great way to grow a practice. In today's world, it's not enough. You have to master marketing internally and maintain that word of mouth, but you also have to understand how to market in the digital space. We've got tremendous experts so you can understand the best practices of marketing, whether it's inside your four walls or outside your four walls in a digital space. So the second most important thing are systems that you have that organize your people, that organize your practice. When you come to Fast Track, we're going to deliver to you great systems from the very first time somebody calls you on the phone to when they walk in the door, to how you intake them, take their medical history, their dental history. You do a consult, you treatment plan, you review their finances so they say yes, and how you follow up. Those are the keys to great systems in your dental practice that will drive your success as a young dentist. So if you want to get on the fast track, if you want to learn how to be highly successful like today's young dentists are doing, join us at Fast Track. Thanks for listening. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm David Rice, founder of Ignite DDS, here as usual with partner in crime, Kevin Henry. How are you, Kevin?
Hey Dave, all good here. I've literally got sunshine on my shoulder today, so I guess it makes me happy. So there you go. Anyway, hey, glad to have Dr. Brian Harris on with us this morning. Dr. Harris, how are you?
Doing good. No sunshine here, but I've got some hotel lights on my shoulders. But no, I'm happy to be here with you guys. It's truly an honor to be able to spend a little bit of time together and just share some thoughts together.
Yeah, and I know one of the things we really wanted to focus on today was kind of that new financial conversation with patients, and kind of wanted to get that 30,000 foot view to start off. What are some of the things that you're seeing out there and you're hearing as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously everyone knows the market is like different, right? The conversations are different, and it may even be that nothing's changed. Everybody feels the same about financial conversations, but just the perception, even for us, maybe what's different. So I think just understanding how to have those conversations, how to talk to people about both needed treatment and elective treatment, and how the financing piece comes into that, is crucial to the success of our businesses.
I like that, Brian. I like what you've really said is the perception piece on the part of, our side, our teams, us as dentists. And I think that's my experience in 26 years couldn't be closer to the truth of, perception being reality. So I'm interested to hear, your team, what that looks like and what you're seeing.
Yeah, well, so to speak that word perception, I think I started thinking of it that way because I started looking just at my own spending habits, right? Or spending habits of friends or people that I know in various different financial situations. And you would think during hard times, people would hunker down and not spend. But at the same time, you look at it, and I look at some of the purchases that I've made, that were totally unnecessary, but because of the times and because of the stress, they were things that I bought that I don't need. And along those lines, there were things that I financed. So for example, and part of it's just, not all the lecturing and traveling and all this, being at home and having more time with the kids. I went out and purchased a Can, like an off-road vehicle, right? And some dirt bikes for my kids, and things that, logically made no sense, but for me emotionally right now just made a lot of sense. And I think that piece of it, the emotional components, a huge piece that we don't talk about often enough in what we do. But anyway, I purchased things, and while I could have gone out and just bought them, right? I could have taken savings and bought everything outright. I chose to finance things. And I did it because I could, and because, they offered it to me. And because when I looked at it, I'm like, well, yeah, I can spread this out over a long period of time and have a lower monthly payment and still enjoy it now. So I think that's when I started to look at things differently, is just saying, okay, if we can't just assume that our patients feel a certain way about financing or a certain way about purchasing. We have to just almost erase that from our mind and look at each case differently, in my opinion.
And you're so right about the emotions that a lot of people are going through right now, and there's a wide range of those. And Dave, I think Anastasia brought up in one of our previous Zooms about kind of the stages of grief, and a lot of people are looking at things that aren't regular that they're going through right now. And Brian, I'm curious, whenever we're talking about financing, whenever we're talking about patients being able to afford things, is it a different conversation now, you think, knowing the situations that are going on versus what it might have been a year ago today?
Yeah, I think it's different for everybody. I think it's more top of mind for everybody. And I think when we come at it from a place of, so like one of the lines I like to use with my patients that seems to work really well, regardless of what we're talking about, is, hey, at the end of the day, the goal is to help you get what it is you want here, but also like make it work with the budget. And we've got to find a way to somewhere, to meet in the middle and make it really work for you. And so for some people, that means paying up front and saving a little bit on a prepayment discount. For other people, it means financing it over time. Like what makes the most sense to you? And instead of us just assuming where they're at financially, just what I call it breaking down barriers. I call it having that conversation, say, hey, let's just talk about money. Like, here's the goal. Here's where you want to go. Here's where you are. Here's what it costs. Where are you at? What do you want to do? And I think you'll be surprised sometimes at where that conversation goes.
I love that. And I love just the open, honest aspect of that. I think sometimes, a lot of times, like we get in our own way. We create this giant barrier where there wasn't a barrier. Everybody's coming in with an expectation. And I love what you just shared is let's just talk about what your individual expectation is as a patient. I'm not going to lump you in a category. I'm not going to make a choice for you. Let's just have that conversation as it is, because we need to get you from here to here. So what's the easiest way to make that happen? Simple. So simple, but we make it so hard sometimes.
I know we do. And I think, I have an amazing team, right? And I know all of us have teams that we love, but I think sometimes we have to understand that they're coming at those financial conversations from where they are emotionally around finances too. Right? So I overheard one of my team members the other day. So in my office, we offer care credit financing. That's all we offer. We keep it simple. We don't complicate things. But, within that, there's different types of financing. There's ways to do it, in shorter terms or longer terms. And I overheard the conversation of her talking to the patient saying, oh, well, we only offer this 12-month option. And, we don't offer this other 4-year option or whatever it may be. And I was in the next laboratory over and I started thinking about that. I'm like, wow, one, that's not necessarily totally true. Like we could offer these other options, but I think in her mind where she was going was, hey, if we offer those other options, they're at a much higher interest rate. And so I don't want necessarily the patient to pay a higher interest rate, versus a lower interest rate. And so but as I heard that conversation happening, I thought, wait, that's not something we should decide. That's something the patient should decide. Let them decide what their terms are. Let them decide how long they want to spread out payments. Let them decide, what the financing piece of it looks like for them, and have us just help them make that happen. Yeah. I think in like, you look in plastic surgery, you look with like optometry, you look at all these other different professions where I feel like they've figured it out, where you go in and it's like, hey, here's what it's going to cost. Here's your financing options, like which makes the most sense to you. And they just know, like, when they make it really easy for people, people buy. But as dentists, sometimes we don't offer that. We don't make it so easy. And, we're like, well, there's no way I'm going to give away 9% to a financing company. But then the patient asks for a discount. We're like, sure, 15% discount. Like, we don't think of it, like, it's just how we think about it. We would never, take a hit, using a financing company yet. Then we just devalue our work and give it away, without hesitation. I don't know. I'm rambling. I'll stop.
You're not at all. It's a really great point. Kat?
It is. And I'll tell you, I love the fact that your team, you talk about financing. And I think that it's so important, that a lot of team members I hear that they want to make sure that everybody's on the same page with that same message. Because, Brian, I'm sure you're aware there's a lot of times that you'll walk out of the room and that conversation happens, and you've got to make sure that what they are saying matches what you're saying. And so how do you get everybody on the same page? Is it literally just sitting down, talking about talking points? Here's what we need to be saying.
Yeah. My approach is maybe a little bit more simplified than most, but and we try to revisit this at least a few times a year, but I sit down with my team and we kind of have just this conversation of, hey, listen, like, people come to us because they want this and we offer that. You just need to figure out how to make it work for them financially. And the fees, it is what it is, right? The cost is what it is. Like, when you go to buy a car, the cost is the cost of the car. It's more around, like, how do you work things out and get creative in a way to make it work for the patient? And so just talking about money differently, letting people know, like, this is outside of dentistry, this is what people go through every day with every single thing that they buy of true value, is there's these financial decisions that need to be made. And so we shouldn't have anything around it, or we shouldn't have any stress around it. It's just the reality. It's how do you make the process easy for them to help them buy?
True story. And I like where you went earlier when you started comparing, like, optometry versus, where we are in dentistry. It's not that they're callous. They just have great systems, and it's just very matter of fact. This is how we get there. How's that sound? And, you shared, your team and their emotion. And I've had that same experience. And I think it's difficult sometimes, depending on where we all are, to take ourselves out of our own shoes and put ourselves in a patient's shoes. So getting objective and having a system and having a great team conversation with education is important, but really focusing on how do we unplug that emotion and plug in just logic. And as you said, patients, they came to see us because they want our help. So It's not as hard as we make it.
No, it's not. And actually, I like how you flipped it there, because one of the things I talk about all the time is this idea that all of us as humans, like, we make our financial decisions based on emotion, and then we justify with logic, right?
Yeah.
And so, that's just how the brain works. Yet sometimes what we miss is what you just said, is the reality is sometimes when it comes time to talk about money, it's an emotional decision that we choose to, like, make that purchase. But at the end of the day, it does come down to logic too. There's just, like, it just is what it is. And so it's finding a way to help them make that emotional decision, and then logically just make it work for them.
Yeah, I love that. And we have the exact conversation you just shared is what we have with our team. And Kevin, you've heard me say it probably 50 times in the last year. And we share that with our team. So those of you who are watching, like, understand what Brian is teaching you. The lesson is, like it or not, we default to emotional thought process. And then, as he said, we justify it later with logic. And talk as a team about how, if we know that, what do we need to do to flip that? Because we don't always make the best decisions when we make them emotionally, as opposed to when we make them logically. So, we can hold ourselves to a different standard in our practice if we consciously and intentionally choose it, in essence.
Yeah, and this maybe this does or doesn't fit within this conversation, but I think one of my mentors one time told me, he's like, Brian, you never want the sale more than the patient. Like, what do you mean? He's like, he's like, when you want the sale more than they do, you've lost. So it's like, when you go in, and I think this happens sometimes in dentistry, where for whatever reason, maybe the schedule's slow, or maybe we've been on a 2-month break because of COVID or whatever it is. When you go looking for things when you go looking to make the sale, right? You want it more than they do. Like, you've gotten out of balance. The key is just to be there. I call it serving over selling. Just be there, help people figure out what it is, help people understand the reason why they need to have it done, and then let them decide when they're ready, and be okay with that. And I feel like there's, when you don't want it more than they do, when you're really just there to help them, I think patients recognize that, and it makes them want to do business with us, because they can see, like, hey, whether or not they buy or not, it's totally fine with me. I just want them to know what's possible, and then they can decide when they're ready.
I love that. That was God, I think way back for me, that was a Pankyism. And Steve Ratcliffe threw that out to me years ago. And I don't recall who shared with him, but it was the concept that you shared is, when I needed everyone to say yes, they all said no. And then when I no longer needed anyone to say yes, God, they all said yes. So
I love that. Jeez,
yeah.
I want to write that down. All right. No, and that's a much better way to put it, because it is that, and we've all felt it as dentists, when you do need people to say yes, because you need to make payroll. You need to hit those goals to operate a business. And that's not a fun place to be in. And I think it comes down to what you just talked about, systems. When there's good financial systems in place, and when you can just go and just do your thing, the rest usually takes care of itself.
Absolutely. Kev?
Yeah. Serving over selling. Love that. And I mean, if we could do that in our industry and every other industry, it'd be a completely different mindset on every purchase, I think, for sure. So that great advice. Great things to take away here for sure, man.
Love it. Any last words, Brian?
Oh, geez. I would say, yeah, so I'm going through, I'm kind of in the same position you are, where there's a lot happening in dentistry right now, and a lot of doctors that are, for a good reason, stressed out, because we've never experienced this before. Nobody has. And so, I can't get on here and say I've got the answers. Nobody can, because we're all experiencing it together. But I think when you take a deep breath and step back and really look at it for what it is, we're in such an amazing profession. We're in such a great position. We've got great, companies out there to support us, and we've got great financing options. We've got great things that we can offer our patients. We just need to slow down and get back to some of the basics of hey, just be there for people, because, we get selfish and only think about our business or what we're going through or how we're going to make things work. Where there's a real human being on the other side of this that is making a financial decision too. And so, if you can step back and just slow down, and just, people will recognize that, and they'll want to do business with you. They're going to spend their money somewhere. They're just trying to decide where they're going to spend it. And so if we can just be more aware of that and just really be there to help people like we should be already, I just think there's so much potential to still have a really healthy business and a healthy practice.
I love it. Kev, take us home, buddy.
Hey, Brian, thanks so much for being on. Great stuff. And Dave, always good to see you as well. And a lot of good things to think about, a lot of good things to implement into practice, team conversations, everything else. So thank you all for joining us. And hey, we look forward to being with you next time. And until then, together we rise.